Hello, my name is Vytautas. Welcome to another episode of the Bučionis Banter channel. Here we're coming back to April the 18th to continue to live the memories I have accumulated on this very fruitful recording expedition. And from this moment on, the expansion of the soundscape is going to continue, but we're also going to find different forms of the soundscape based on which part of the park we're at. So we're going to start where we left off in the last episode, on the side of the Angrignon Pond, we can call it, between the cardinal, the La Salle side cardinal, and the intermediary cardinal. And then we're going to go to the Angrignon side, where we're going to hear less of the geese and more of the juncos, a species that we haven't met yet. And also we're going to meet a fox sparrow, which is another migrant that goes through only the very green places, very wooded places. If you have a fox sparrow, then you're really fortunate, you're doing something right. So we're gonna go through there, and then we're going to drift into denser forest with more tall trees than other plants, and we're going to see how the soundscape there is a little bit different, where certain specific birds are to be looked for, and we're gonna meet some red-shouldered hawks. And then in a conclusion, we're going to zoom in on a cardinal who displays a very rich variety of choral song material. Before we start, I would like to precise a few things that I said earlier. I talked about our La Salle cardinal that was switching between song themes. And at one point, I commented that switches between certain song themes are normal among cardinals. So the song themes I was talking about is particularly the two choral song themes. There are usually two that a cardinal has. Sometimes it's three, but in this case, it's two. The kuch 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 and chu 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 chu. So normally among cardinals, it's normal to switch around between two similar song themes, like two choral song themes. Or for example, another example is where a cardinal at my home switches between the downward slide theme followed by upward slide themes and just an upward slide theme. What's different with this La Salle side cardinal is that it switches between completely different song themes, back and forth and back and forth. So for example, as we heard, between kut 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 and uit uit tu 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 tu, and then back to kut 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 kut. In the recording that we're going to listen to now, we're going to see some more switching between and then upward slide theme in a lower register, and we're going to discover that the La Salle side cardinal is not the only one who does this kind of switching, but its intermediary cardinal has very similar habits. So in fact this is it's like a brother sisterhood of cardinals that practices this particular linguistic form. So let's dive where we left off, between the two edges of the pond on the forest, by the side of the pond. Let's go. This is our cardinal. This is the intermediary. There you go. Wait. Our wood duck. The song sparrow. More of that backdrop of the Canada goose. We're also next to a northern flicker who's hammering right now. Oh, the intermediary cardinal switched to wait. And this cardinal too. Downy woodpecker too in the background. And the red-winged blackbird continues to crow with some staccato calls. There you go. Our goldfinch is back. We're hearing the whoa, and the cardinal switched back to wait. Sometimes preceded by that deer. There you go. The teal is back. And this lower wait. We heard earlier from this cardinal. It's a cowbird, the sputtering tick. The hammering of the woodpecker continues. Downy woodpecker. That's a goldfinch singing. The wait is also sometimes preceded by this optional row of fast notes. So I guess these cardinals, it's a certain amount of a certain form of switching around is usual within cardinals, but I find that these particular cardinals have brought it like a whole category higher. Like we've been hearing a certain variety of songs from that cardinal, and before going through its entire gamut, it's deciding to switch back to other song themes. It's like, well, I know that I have a wider gamut right now, but does it mean that I have to show it off completely now? Like, let's see the maximum that we can get from just switching around these song themes, and the richness and diversity that we can get from it. So that's what is a takeaway when I listened to these cardinals. So far, if we can review the full soundscape, full registral variety of the soundscape. So the complete upper register, it's the brown creepers and song sparrows and chickadees. Then we have the tuneful upper whistle register, which is the white-throated sparrows and the chickadees. Now I'm talking about like the entire this entire expedition right now, what we've been experiencing from last episode and this episode. And then there is the ruby-crowned kinglets that follow the upper and lower register in the mid register. Then we have the whistled register, the lower whistled register that is occupied by the cardinals. And then still lower, we're hearing northern flickers and gulls and wood ducks, and still lower the geese and mallards. So this has been happening in this area that we just bathed in sound-wise, and the area before. So now it's going to change. Let's go to the Angrignon side of the nature park and see what it's got in store for us. And we're going to meet one of the Angrignon Cardinals. And this is actually the first cardinal I recorded in Angrignon this year. And I recognize it from the tu, 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 and from what it's going to do near the end of the recording. The fact that it has like one high note and then a row of other notes underneath, a minor third underneath that high note, that's signature of that one cardinal as far as I know. I haven't heard any other cardinals like that in my experience of closely observing the song themes of cardinals. Okay, let's go. Let's dive into the soundscape of the inner Angrignon area. Or fox sparrow. Do, 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 do. Here's a kinglet too. And we hear that tremolo, which is the junco. It's going to come closer later. That one. And the tear, which calls from the red-winged blackbird. Did I mention the red-winged blackbird in the mid-register part of the soundscape, or have I overlooked it again? Sorry, red-winged blackbirds. So this particular area is very popular with joggers. Opa. He's quite exalted. He hears a northern flicker up close. And the junco is coming closer too. And here's a tree swallow. That's something we didn't hear either. That is the first female red-winged blackbird I heard this year. Another flicker is answering this flicker, and the junco is like in full foreground now. The gulls exploring open spaces. Here's a fox sparrow again. this very slurred, whistly song. I like to say that the fox sparrow sounds like a very drunk house finch. The house finch being another garden, that being a garden bird that has a rather disjunct whistled song, a warble kind of song. Ruby crowned kinglet, along with a junco. All these tremolos are from a junco. Our Cardinals back with its slow downward slide theme. Wait. That was the one I mentioned. There's mallard. This very low register. Here's a song sparrow coming into the sound space. So very far in the horizon we heard which is a pileated woodpecker. It's if not the biggest woodpecker in eastern North America, it's one of the biggest. In French they even call it le grand pic, the great woodpecker. So the common feature of these three areas we've been experiencing is the presence of ruby-crowned kinglets, red-winged blackbirds, song sparrows to an extent. Ruby-crowned kinglets, the kinglets, they're everywhere right now. They're trying out different resting places, different places to stay. And the cardinals also. I guess the difference between this particular part of Angrignon and the other parts we've been experiencing is that closer to the pond, well, we had geese, and we also had wood ducks, and it's also the acoustics were also quite different, and there were brown creepers and white-throated sparrows. Probably it's due to the landscaping. And we also heard goldfinches, although I don't think goldfinches are impossible in this part of Angrignon Park, although they do tend to stay in a certain spot. Now, we've been hearing from a distance a pileated woodpecker. So where is this pileated woodpecker coming from is the landscape we're going to visit in our next recording, which is a complete dense forest. It's like strictly forested with tall trees and very particular kind of vegetation, which is primarily tall trees. And certainly when you're in that vegetation, you kind of have to adapt your expectations of what kind of birds you'll hear. So usually, like song sparrows, they're more keen to places that have tall grasses and small bushes and shrubs, whereas this is what we're heading into now is like tall trees. And very dense. It's also the density and the openness of the woodland has a huge difference in what kind of birds you're going to hear. So here in April, that certain birds that are native to denser forests are still not here. So that's why it's gonna sound a little bit more sparse, but still more colorful in its own way. We're gonna hear red-shouldered hawks and we're gonna hear chickadees. Normally we would hear nuthatches. I guess we were not that lucky. And otherwise it's going to be lots of moving greenery. So the winds are picking up a little bit, so that kind of adds to the richness of the soundscape. Although I did have to tweak the recordings to avoid wind friction. Anyhow, so let's go to this denser forest and meet the red-shouldered hawks and chickadees. These ones. Dear. So when I'm hearing these hawks echo around, the resonance produces chords, musical chords, or at least intervals. And then we're hearing chickadees zipping around. And a hairy woodpecker in the distance. That's also a woodpecker, a bird more common to denser woods. Okay. The hawks are getting closer. And meanwhile, the sound carpet is really colorful with the different greenery moving, the different trees moving. Every species of tree has its own sound when it moves. So beyond just the birds, there's so much to take in. That's a crow, I think. Yeah. Yeah, that's another one, or the same one, but flown away. So when the month of May comes around, this forest is going to house warblers, red-eyed vireos, warbling vireos, and I said warblers, among them American redstarts. Here are chickadees. And just this motion of greenery around us, it's really hypnotic. It's like takes you into a whirlpool of action. Whoa. Orchestral crescendo. Whoppa. Moving leaves and all. So this is the dense forest part of Angrignon Park on April the 18th. Or sure, if you wait a couple of weeks, it's going to sound completely different. So here we're also hearing how the time of year could determine a lot of how a certain soundscape is going to sound like. And right now, at this time of year, we're hearing the sheer diversity of how different, how the sound palette changes based on what's around, based on the kind of vegetation around. And I hope that if I can recognize my vegetation a little bit more, I would be able to see the kind of vegetation that's here and anticipate exactly the species of birds we're going to hear, or almost exactly. So yeah, this is quite fascinating to observe. So now, to top it all off, we were going out of the forested area back into the. I'm trying to recollect. We were still in the Angrignon area of the park, and we were lucky enough to hear a display of choral song themes of a particular cardinal, and this cardinal has gone very, very creative, and it ended up later in the season with at least 3 different choral song themes. And what we're hearing now, it could be considered an exploration of the different choral song themes or the different poetic vocabulary that the bird might or might not stick with throughout the season. Whereas now, hearing it explore the poetic vocabulary and really giving like a whole litany of pitch variations, it's quite honorable to listen, I must say. Let's listen to this. It rattles around the pitch. Up and then down. And the gulls, they seem to reproduce some of the pitches. Wow, that's quite a slump into lower register. Back up. Well, that's a huge pitch range for one song sentence. And going up and then going far more down. And we're still in the fast chordal session. The slow chordal session will sound different later in the recording. So musically, it's kind of nice motif. A little bit of the rise and fall. Back to the faster one, and morphing to a slower one. Now we're in the slower chordal theme. Choo, 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 choo. So we have this chord right now, and the different pitches revolve in its own micro pitch range, and they revolve in their own ways, and we're hearing quite a diversity of harmonic material. It's getting very windy. Now that was a really colorful display. So the more at home and comfortable cardinals are within a certain area, the more kind of displays you can hear throughout the season, even to the extent that I heard a similar display of 3 different song themes in the nature park of Île Bizarre on August the 16th of 2023. So this is April the 18th, and here it's kind of like universal that such kind of displays will happen, where you don't have 1, 2, or 3 forms of a song theme, but much more that vary a lot within a monologue. Whereas if the ecosystem is healthy enough, like at Nature Park of Île Bizarre and the same Angrignon and other nature parks where nature has enough room to do its job, you can hear very colorful displays of cardinals singing until September. and I'm talking from my own experience. So yeah, this is the full scope of what I experienced on April the 18th, 2026 in Angrignon Park. And the reoccurring theme is a huge illumination of the expansive quality of the soundscape with its different registers. There is more activity in the different registers, also passing migrants, and generally a lot of exaltation among the different bird individuals, as the temperature was quite warm, quite nice, quite seasonal. Although it was getting but along with it, it was getting quite windy, and that same afternoon we had showers. But what that amounted to is more action within the vegetation, and it wasn't too windy for birdsong, at least for most of the morning. So we were able to, me and my assistant Virginie, we were able to experience lots of magical monologues and dialogues among the different birds. So thank you very much for listening. This is the Buchones Banter channel. My name is Vytautas. I'll see you soon with a fresh with a fresh batch of sound experiences to share with you, and or other reflections about nature or the human condition. I know that soon I'm going to virtually invite you over to meet my robins, and what I also know that at some point we're going to go back to Angrignon and experience a week later, so 7 days from April the 18th is April the 25th, and we'll also go to other nature places that I've been exploring. So thank you very much for listening. I'll talk to you soon.